Well, good morning, everybody, and you're really welcome to another week with us at Central. Wherever you find yourself this morning, or maybe if you're watching this later on in the week, we just hope this gives you a little time out, a little break, to stop and think about what God might be saying to you this week. We're still on our theme, Faith at Home, which is made up of a bunch of interviews of our leadership team and looking at aspects of their life through this lockdown period and how their faith has affected that. So this week we have Thomas and Helen Carrick who are coming to share with us on what it's been like for them having a family during this time. We are in the process of trying to get ourselves ready to join together again in the building. We're not quite sure when that's going to be yet, but we're looking at how to do it safely, how to get the building clean, make sure that we have a good system in place for you guys coming back. And we'll keep you up to date as we know more about that. There's only one really big announcement this week, and that is to welcome in the newest member of the Central crew, young Levi Dickinson. Joy gave birth to a little baby boy this week, so Dave and Joy just enjoying getting to know him. We can't wait to meet him. So maybe bear them in your prayers. Send them a little text of congratulations. We can't wait to meet him. So I'm just going to read from Hebrews 10 for you, and then we're going to pray, and then we'll head over to the interview. So it starts in verse 22. Let us draw near to God with a sincere heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from a guilty conscience, having our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. Let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Let's pray. Lord, we just pray that as we look towards getting together, that you will give us the wisdom we need to do that safely. Lord, we know this is a period of so much unknown, and we just pray in that you would make yourself known, that we might feel secure in the knowledge that we're safe in you, no matter what else is going on around us, no matter what comes to our door. So Lord, we just pray be with us in these times. As a church, as individuals, that as we move on, we do it really well, and that we do it with you at the forefront of our minds, Lord. We just pray for those who are going back to work. Teachers may be preparing for what next year looks like. People that are starting to head out into their more normal life. I know we just offer over their fears, concerns, worries, that you might take care of those, that you might resonate with them. Lord, the people that may feel safe in your hands. Lord, we just thank you so much for getting to welcome new life into the world. We just thank you for David Joy and their leadership. We thank you for this great gift you've given them. We just pray to be with them now as all the madness of another child kicks off. Lord, that we would also be with them as a church family, Lord. We just thank you so much for the blessing of new life. We just pray to be with them. So Lord, as we meet today, we just offer it over to you. We just say the service is for you. We hope we learn more about you and learn how to change this world by bringing you to the people around us. Amen. Over to the interview.
Thomas and Helen, thank you for letting us into your home. It is really lovely to see you. It's really nice for me to see you, never mind anybody else.
To you.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, I know we've been able to do Zoom and see each other and that kind of thing, and the WhatsApp keeps pinging, but it's actually really nice to see people in the flesh. So thank you for letting us come here into your house. Obviously, I'm on the leadership team with you, and I have just loved getting to know you through this, but in case anybody doesn't know you, or tell us a wee bit about yourselves. Tell us a wee bit about the Carricks.
Okay, so I'm Helen Carrick, and I am currently on maternity leave. We've got 3 kids, and Bonnie is 4, Ernie's 2, and Matilda is 6 months. And I, in my day job, work for Queen's University as a fundraiser.
I'm Thomas. I'm married to Helen. I am an engineer, and I work down in Portadown.
So talk to us a wee bit about how has the COVID-19 experience, how has it been for you? How has it been for the Carricks? How has it been for you as a family?
Yeah, I mean, Thomas will probably talk a little bit about him and how it's been in terms of work and stuff like that. But as a family, like some things have changed, but actually some things haven't changed really. We've been able to keep a bit of normality. Obviously I'm on maternity leave, so that's been a blessing in many ways, because I just don't know how I would be working with all 3 kids at home. And respect to anybody who's doing that, because I just think that's huge. And even though maternity leave isn't what I had expected, we had talked a lot about, before I had Matilda, keeping Bonnie and Ernie, our older 2, in childcare, and obviously suddenly overnight they were here with me. And in my head I was going to have lots of little one-to-one time with Matilda and bring her to baby classes and go back to bed in the morning when I'd been up all night, and suddenly I wasn't able to do that, and that was a bit of a shocker. But actually it's been really lovely. It's been great with the kids. I've definitely had days where Thomas has walked through the door and he knows to look at me that I'm ready to run away and start crying. But it's just been lovely. Lovely for them, lovely for me, lovely for Matilda, and and Thomas has kept working really through it. So
I'm imagining that's been probably fairly full on. How has it been running your own company during all this?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. Initially it was great. Suddenly I had time. Lockdown happened. The staff went on furlough, so suddenly I had headspace apart from anything else. I was able, in work, I went down to a 3-day week. In work I was able to do things which ordinarily I wouldn't have had time to do, but equally I was able to spend more time at home, so it was lovely. The weather was good, and I really enjoyed it. Certainly the first few weeks were brilliant. I guess the difficulty for us was more the timing of when lockdown happened. We were right in the middle of quite heavy investment in the business, so that proved quite challenging as cash flow started to get quite tight. Big bills were going out and money stopped coming in, and as we began to ramp up, then it was challenging because it was just so busy. You were trying to bring staff back, keep them safe, but client expectations were going through the roof. Projects were behind, payments were behind, cash was getting tight. So yeah, it was definitely a mixed bag. The start was great. The first month even was great. The second month really started to get quite difficult. And we're only starting to come out of that difficult phase now. So yeah, mixed bag for sure. And then from a family perspective, yeah, I definitely had more time with Helen and the kids at the start, but that began to get less. And in the back of my head, I was very conscious that Helen was at home with the 3 kids, so I was trying to be here as much as possible. So yeah, good start, tricky ending.
How have the kids found it?
yeah, do you know, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, people talk about kids being really resilient and adaptable, and they are. It's amazing how, so like overnight almost, they were seeing their cousins through windows. Their grandparents on Zoom and FaceTime. They weren't. Bonnie stopped preschool, and it was called the bug in our house. So the bug is there, so you can't touch people. But they just kind of got it. Or even like the other day, we went to Derry with the kids last week, and we were all wearing our masks, and we put the kids' masks on. They were just like, yeah, you've got to wear a mask now. And so it's interesting how quickly they adapted, but then equally, there were just little moments, particularly with Bonnie, because she's older, and she is quite sensitive, where she would say, I'm really sad. She would get upset. I miss people, or a bit scared of the bug and what that means and what it means for maybe her grandparents. But in those moments, we just, like, I'd say, like, I'm sad too. Like, I want to see people, and we talk about it. But like, they've been great, and they're really close now. I mean, people are like, oh my goodness, you've got 3 kids at home, how do you do it? Actually, in some ways, if you've one child, I think that's tougher because you are their entertainment, whereas with ours, you know, they entertain each other. I mean, you know, also beat each other up and stuff like that, but they're really good together. And I think they have helped each other as well. They've got someone to play with, so yeah, they've been good, haven't they?
I think initially we maybe went a bit over the top, and if anyone came near Bonnie, she'd be like, "Don't touch me! You're not allowed to touch me!"
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been great, and they've loved having time at home with, particularly with Mummy, and the worry is how we're going to get them back into childcare and get used to that. That's probably going to be a bigger culture shock for them, actually. But no, they've loved it.
I mean, I just think, you guys, there's been a lot of juggling. I mean, I know I find work really intense, but at least I was going to say when I come home, when I go down the stairs from the study to the living room, like it's just me. Whereas, you know, you're juggling running the business, you're juggling the kids, you're juggling being a family, being a couple. Like there is more. I don't mean, therefore it's easy if you're not, but I just think there's a lot of juggling in that, isn't there?
Yeah. And it hasn't, like, it's been great in so many ways, but it has been hard. And like as Thomas said at the start, in my head, don't know why I thought this, but you know, Thomas furloughed his staff, and I was like, oh, great, he's going to be at home. It's just and I'm on maternity. We're going to have like a little holiday, and it's really hard to get Thomas to take time off. So suddenly I was like, forced time off. We're going to hang out as family. This is going to be great. And at the start, you did take a couple of days, and then suddenly Thomas was like, by the way, I'm going to be working full time during this because I can. And if I'm not working, I'm not making money. And I think that kind of burst my bubble a little bit at the start. And then also knowing you were going out and COVID was out there, and that worry as well, because you never had to lock down. You probably were more relaxed about it. So, you know, I'd constantly be like, are you social distancing and doing all those things? So yeah, it was tricky. And then one little minor disagreement that we had was, obviously it was really hot, and we've got a garden, which is brilliant, but we have no gates in our house. So I'd be out, the kids would be out, I'd be with Matilda trying to feed her, Ernie's running, you know, out to the road, whatever, and I kept saying to Thomas, like, look, we really need some gates or a fence, and because Thomas is really practical, he wants to do all these things himself. So it's kind of like, any chance you could do it, whilst he's trying to work and balance all that stuff. And then one Saturday he broke and just went out and built a fence. So that was tough, definitely, I think, because I got that he was really busy, and I think for you it was like, oh, do you really need this fence? And it's like, yes, I do.
Ernie will do what he's told, of course.
Yeah. So we things like that where I suppose you didn't really understand where I was at. I didn't fully understand. And I think, as you said about spending time together, you know, we had said, let's try and get one night a week where we just sit down and have dinner and talk about, you know, life and whatever, instead of, because you can just be doing all the time and with the kids. And so it hasn't all been fun and games.
So, Thomas, what about, you know, what impact has your faith had in this? Where's God been? What's God been doing? How have you found this for you?
Well, I would say I'm not a very reflective person. I don't tend to look back. I don't enjoy doing it. I find it quite difficult actually to look back and reflect on how something's been or what I've learned through it. I'm always looking forward. What's this week going to look like? What's the month going to look like? What's the year going to look like, particularly from a business perspective? And then COVID lockdown happens, and suddenly everybody has to do a bit of reflecting. So I find that quite difficult. So from a business perspective, I guess when we set up Fabritech, we always said that it was going to be more than just about providing an income. It was a very difficult decision. I was leaving a very comfortable job with a good salary. There were prospects from a career perspective. And I was going to take this leap into the unknown, essentially. So we prayed about it for months. We talked to our people to get advice, and eventually we decided this was the right thing to do. But we felt that it was definitely, as I said, to be more than just to provide an income. We wanted to be a business that provided good employment for our staff, that they would be trained, that we wanted it to feel like family, where people would feel at home. And equally, from a value perspective, we really wanted integrity to be at the heart of everything we did, whether that was through the quality of the products that we put out to the timeliness with which we pay our bills. We wanted integrity to be really important. And so then when COVID happened, and I guess it was an opportunity for me to take stock, to look back. Well, we've been running now for 5 years. How are we getting on with those goals? How are we getting on with those values? How have we got on over 5 years? How have we got on in 2020? How have we got on during lockdown? So that's been challenging for sure. Just to take it back to, right, well, what has God called me to, and how am I actually getting on with that? But it's been good, as much as I haven't enjoyed it. And then from a family perspective, we had some quite difficult and quite sad family circumstances that we had to navigate over the last couple of months, which, particularly with COVID, it's been difficult. But I would say that God has been very present. He's, as I look over that period, it's very evident that God has been softening hearts within our family, that He has been moving, and so I would say God has definitely been present and prompting through this period, and it's been definitely good to as a bit of a leveler for me.
Thank you. Helen, what about you? What have you learnt about yourself during this time?
I think, I don't know if it's not something new, I suppose, but being forced to slow down has made me aware of my tendency to kind of overcommit my time. And it's funny, my mum, there were 7 of us in our family, and mum always said, when I was young, when I was bringing you up, it wasn't as complicated as it is now, and we didn't go for coffees and go to soft play and all those things. We just sat out in the garden. And I just remember thinking, that was definitely tougher, because you didn't go for a coffee with your friend and whatever. But I get that now, and I think in many ways it's I've learned how to be at home with my kids and be content in that. So it's a really hot sunny day, I don't need to pack up the car and get a picnic and all that stuff and go somewhere. I can actually just be here with them. So kind of contenting myself with that, I would say, I've learned how to do that, and I hope I continue to do that. I hope I remember that.
And in the same way, do you think you've learned or relearned new things about God in this time too?
Yeah, I think as a parent, as a mum, your kind of headspace is limited, and particularly when you're at home with the kids all day, you're not getting any time for you. So I've had to be creative about my time with God. So whether that's putting a bit of worship music on when I'm making the dinner or whatever. E100's been great because there's been a bit of focus there, but I've been involved with Alpha actually online, and that has been great because when I was asked to be involved, I was a bit like, gosh, how is this going to work? How does Alpha online work? Because it's all about relationships. And amazingly, there I was in this Alpha course with aunts and uncles of mine from across Northern Ireland and the south of Ireland. A friend from England was on the course. Every week connecting with people in a way that I didn't think possible, and God really moved through that. So for me, I suppose learning that God can work in ways that we think is impossible. And then communities, we've been able to go to communities loads, and prior to this, because we have kids, it would be one of us. So actually we've connected more in with communities than we ever have as a couple. So that's been great.
It's been one of the advantages of doing it online, isn't it? That you don't need to leave your house to kind of go.
Absolutely.
Totally. People can go. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I know it's been quite a significant time for the kids. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Do you want?
Yeah, I guess it's been really special actually from a faith perspective, and as we think about God and how He has been able to use this time for us as a family and for the kids. I think one of the key things was that with KC being online, rather than sending the kids downstairs and them doing their programme and us being upstairs in church doing our thing, we were able to do KC together. So you weren't relying on Bonnie's feedback of KC, but actually we were able to go through it with her, and it led to a lot of conversations that we were able to instigate with her, because we had been present, and she loved KC online. Big respect to everyone who put that together. But she has felt really connected with KC and with her pals in KC, so it's been brilliant. But so yeah, we were getting used to that. Then obviously we navigated through Easter, and that was really significant for Bonnie. In particular, she was asking a lot of questions. I guess this is the first year where she's really started to understand, well, what is Easter about, and she was trying to get her head wrapped around Jesus coming and dying on the cross, and this was for her, and how did that work, and is he okay, and why did he do that for me, and really got quite upset that Jesus died for her, and there's a real turmoil almost in her head. You could see the cogs working in her brain as she tried to understand this, and so this went on for quite a number of weeks actually. The whole Easter story with Bonnie, and as she tried to work that out for herself, and then one Sunday after Kids Central, I think it was Jill had invited some of the kids to pray, and so Bonnie was obviously listening to this all, and afterwards she asked, well, if Jesus died for me, and well, how do I ask him into my life? So that was really special. It was quite emotional, obviously, as she began to understand this for herself, because it had been going on for a number of weeks, and we didn't want to force anything, and we wanted her to work this out herself. And then she very clearly came and said, oh, I want to ask Jesus into my life, and we were able to say a prayer with her that Sunday, and yeah, so she's on her own journey now, which is really special.
No, it's
It was definitely a really significant period. I guess as much as anything, there was time, there was space. We were going through programs together where we could have conversations, and the content on Kids Central was just amazing.
Yeah. Brilliant. It has been a funny time, because in some ways it feels like life has stopped because a lot of stuff has hit pause, but then loads of life has not stopped, you know. So for Thomas, what, right, so you're at the what next, not looking backwards but looking ahead. So then what do you think about this next season? Are there things from this that you want to, I'm going to hold on to as you move forward, or things you want to do differently? What do you want to take out or bring into this next season?
I think the problem with being a what next and a planner is trying to be in the present. I'm definitely a bit guilty of focusing on the next thing, and that's in all aspects of my life probably. So in the next season, I definitely want to be more present, particularly from a family perspective. When I walk through the door at night, I'm coming home from work, I want to be home from work, particularly with the kids, so that hour, 2 hours that I have before they go down to bed is special and significant. That time that we've had doesn't become, oh, remember that time when we had time. But that's any time that I do have with the kids is significant. So that's definitely one thing. I guess another issue with being a planner would be that I can get quite anxious about the future, and I guess more so now than ever, when the future looks more uncertain than ever. I guess I want to cling more to the promises that I know God has given me. I want them to be a greater reality in my life, because no matter how much I plan, no matter how many Excel spreadsheets I make to plan the future out, well, this has been a leveler in that we're not in control. And I don't want to be anxious in that. I want to rest in that, actually. I want to rest comfortably in what's unknown to me but isn't unknown to God. And from a business perspective, to go back to that, we did feel called into this, and God knew this was going to happen when he was setting out the goals and the values 5 years ago. So yeah, I guess I want to be more comfortable in the unknown coming out of this, and less anxious about that.
Yeah, brilliant. Helen, as we wrap up, as I begin to finish the conversation, I've been saying to people, you know, is there a passage or verses that kind of have been really significant during this time? And I just wonder, have you found that? Has there been a, you know, part of the Bible that you've just found yourself returning to, or one that just seems to have just stayed with you during this time? And I'd love you to read it, but maybe first just tell us why that one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, hopefully I've got it in the right place here. So it's 1 Corinthians 13:12. And for me, I suppose there's a few reasons really why this has been significant and has kept coming back to me. One is we're, you know, living in a time of COVID, and I think lots of people have been theories and opinions as to where God is in this and God's role and all of that stuff. Also, as well, Lydia and Linda both shared, you know, seeing friends and people that we love going through tough stuff during this time. It's been hard. It's sometimes difficult to understand. And then with Alpha, every time I do Alpha, like those big questions, suffering, evil, like all of that. This verse actually during Alpha really came back to me. So yeah, I suppose there's lots of reasons why, and even talking about Bonnie and you know, asking us lots of questions, and sometimes I don't know all the answers. So yeah, I just read it.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known.
Thank you. Thank you guys for just chatting and giving us a wee window into the life of the Carricks. Really, really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I hope as you have been listening to us chat that maybe there's been a mirror of some of the things that you've experienced, something that Thomas or Helen have said and you thought, oh, I so get that, you know, there's maybe been an overlap, or maybe some of the comments I made have just provoked questions in you, and that's what we want. We just want these conversations to trigger other questions and get us thinking about God and his wisdom and how we're living out this faith at home. And so there's 4 questions that we're asking everybody to think about in July, and you can get a copy of these. They're on the email that goes out on Sunday mornings, and you can print it out for yourself. But the 4 questions are: what have you learned about yourself during this time? What big questions has it provoked? What have you learnt or relearnt about God? And what do you want to carry into the next season of living in the midst of this? So keep talking, keep reflecting whether you're a reflector or not, but we hope that this triggers you into thinking a wee bit more during this time. Thank you.